Yo, what's up? What's up? It's the Hungry Millennial, and I'm back with another proactive pragmatism. Today, I want to talk about frauds. So, when I address the topic of frauds, people who are fraudulent in character. So, when they get their way on everything, they are happy, they are joyous. They are some of the most charismatic people you've ever met. But you must be aware of these fraudulent people because when they don't get their way or when stress hits the fan, they turn and blame everything on you, or they refuse to take responsibility for the things that they put in action. And it typically, over time, if it's a part of an organization, if it's a part of a team, it will get to a point where it may bring the team down. Because when you have a team that's on a mission, you need individuals to embrace failure, to say, hey, it was my fault, or hey, it may not have been my fault, but we're going to take the hill and move forward. The problem is we live in a society where it's easy to get in a group of your peers and point the finger. But pointing the finger has never really led to just results, to the results that move things forward in a positive manner. You can relate it to politics. These days, there are so many people politicking that nobody wants to take ownership. So one of my favorite military leaders, Colin Powell, said that a leader has about 30 days when they take over to get in and spark change and to adjust. And after that 30 days, it's time to stop playing the blame game of what used to happen. But if you can go into that 30 days as a leader when you first take over and start addressing problems and issues right out the gate, then things will change drastically for the organization and your team. And you will start to fortify and see the issues that are there because you're taking ownership of those things. You don't just wave it off to the next person. You don't just move on to the next thing until that situation has been solidified or addressed, or it has been rectified, or you have removed the toxicity from the issue, or you've solved it overall. Because the world needs more problem solvers, but it's full of fraudulent people that don't want to take responsibility for these things. At one point, I always played the blame game because I thought that if I blamed other people, then it would get better and it would get solved. But the more that I realized when I wasn't taking ownership of my own problems, they didn't change, and oftentimes they snowballed into a worse type of scenario. They snowballed to the lowest point that you could get to. Not only was it more stressful, but it also brought upon myself and others more anxiety because we weren't finding solutions. We were just pointing fingers. And when you point fingers, people's ego gets involved and people's egos get bruised. But I would much rather somebody's ego get bruised because we're trying to move into the right direction, solve problems, than trying to cover up a failure. Because in the realm, being in the military, covering up failure ends up with people possibly dying, getting injured, getting hurt, careers getting ruined because you don't lead from the front and say the hard things. You don't, as a leader, you have to toe a hard line. These are the things that we will tolerate. These are the things we won't tolerate. And this is our mission moving forward. And you have to get individuals to buy into the mission. But the only way that you can get individuals to buy into the mission or what you believe in, or even yourself to buy in, is by taking ownership, by showing what that looks like. One team, one fight, being in one accord. If you're not in one accord, that's when you get toxic leaders going their way, going this way, and then people believe that people are playing favorites. So be aware of the charismatic fraud who has an answer for everything, right off the top of the head. Because what you'll start to see in that person typically As soon as that person leaves a situation or a problem, those things start to fall apart, because instead of solving the problems and getting to the root and communicating about the problems, they just grazed over them until they got the time to evacuate, eject, and leave that organization. And so, you have to be aware of these frauds in your life too. They may come in the form of parents, sisters, brothers, siblings, and children. My podcast, Proactive Pragmatism, doesn't discriminate based off of age, race, demographics, sexual orientation, or any of those things. You find charismatic people on the left side of politics and charismatic people on the right side of politics, and even people who aren't so charismatic, but they are so narcissistic that they never take responsibility and they leave everything in a disarray, because they created a culture where it was fun in the meantime. It was fun while everybody was smoking and joking and getting what they wanted. But the toxic culture that was created a bunch of people who were going around doing what they want because they felt like their leaders gave them the authority to. Because nobody ever addressed, hey, slow your horses. Let's kind of make a more objective decision. Or let's look at all the facts. Let's get all the facts first. One quote that I like severely, I like it so much. It's, tell me what you know, tell me what you don't know, and then tell me what you think, and then we'll make a decision from there. Because too many people speculate. They make speculations, and speculations aren't facts. And so when you look at the facts and you go off of and you don't take those facts and use them, and you go off of speculation, and you don't get more than one opinion or more than one fact from another person, because you can get a story from one person to be different from the next person's story. So you got to gather all that information so you can make an effective plan. But you also have to be aware to not bring yourself down around these people. These people are, a lot of times you can read their body language. When you talk about something positive, there's kind of a little hesitancy where they'll try to cover up what's positive going on in your life and be like, oh, well, I got this going on, or, oh, okay, that's cool. You know what I mean? And instead of celebrating with you or being happy for you, their ego is so bruised because you found a level of success, and a lot of the castles that they've built are built on sinking sand, that they can't be happy for you. So be aware of the frauds, and even if you have some fraudulent attributes, make sure that you are working diligently every day to stop, because humans they're inherently irrational, right? Anger, emotions, they get riled up, right? So you want to put those emotions at bay and approach things with rationality. That may mean in the moment when something happens, don't address it right away. Don't say anything right away. Sit on it for a little bit, gather yourself, and then make a logical decision. Put away the anger, figure out why your ego is riled up about this, and why you just want to say, just do it. Or just do what I told you to do. Or, that's an order, right? There's rarely a time where you issue saying something that's an order, where it actually goes through and that mission actually carries out successfully, because now somebody feels slighted. So instead of inspiring people, instead of inspiring yourself, you're making it something harder than it needs to be. So beware of frauds. It can come in many different types, as we discussed earlier during this podcast. But this is the Hungry Millennial, back with another Proactive Pragmatism. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I hope you take this message and you really internalize it and start looking at the people you have in your life, because that may be the source of agony and defeat that takes away the peace in your life. Hungry Millennial out. Thank you.